Good evening, everybody. Keith Engle here with TGI Sports Talks College Football / Sports Huddle. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. We're going to get to a lot of stuff tonight. We've got some football to talk about. We've certainly got football news with the NCAA and the power conferences all voting to settle the $2.8 billion lawsuit that's pending. A judge still has to sign off on that. Also, the news coming out that there will be payroll money. This has nothing to do with NIL. Payroll money, level payroll, $20 million to pay players, not just football, not just basketball, all sports. So that money they'll have to decide how to have that go around. We'll talk about that and the implication it'll have on the rest of sports. Are walk-ons done? We'll get to some more. Just what the landscape is going to look like now. We'll talk a little bit of college basketball. We'll talk about the great Bill Walton tonight. We hope he rests in peace. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family. He died at 71 of cancer. I really was caught by surprise and shocked. And you can say what you want about Bill Walton, but he's an American original. And there's a guy who is true to himself. Liked him or didn't like him, he was true to who he was. And he certainly came to grow. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about his legacy and such. We'll get into the college baseball. I want to set the stage for the College Baseball World Series. We're all set to go. We'll look at some of the conference champions, and we'll look at the field. And the super regionals are going to get started. I think maybe today they may be playing. But again, I want to welcome everybody watching tonight on Facebook, on TGI Sports Talks Facebook feed, our YouTube feed, our X feed. That's Twitter for those of you like me. We're a little tough with change. We're also live on Roku tonight on the National Streaming Sports Network. Get those Roku apps downloaded. It probably still says Northeast Streaming Sports there, I believe. But that should be changing as there'll be some new branding and stuff coming out for that. We're going to get some new I got to talk to I've got some people that I'm working with that we're going to get some openings and maybe shots for the middle of the show and end of show and whatnot. Just have some more fun. Quick shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media, especially the Sports Corner that he does every Tuesday from 4 to 6 Eastern time with Smoking Jim Frazier. Ralph does that out of Pittsburgh. He's on Facebook and YouTube. We share a show when we find it shareable. And we've guested on that show and had some fun. Ralph does a lot of great stuff besides that as well. Thumbs up, DDH. And a quick programming note. I will remind you guys of this during the show tonight because it is a college football, former college football star we'll have on 101 with Keith Engle Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Harvey Williams, former LSU standout running back, later drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. And traded to the Raiders, where he had his best seasons. And we'll talk to Harvey about all of that and more on Friday morning at 9 a.m. So lots to talk about today, guys, and some other news, I'm sure, as we pop around the world of college basketball. Again, there's this whole again, the landscape changes like monthly in the world of college sports, not just college football. College football is the linchpin here, right? I'll get to your comments here in a second. We want your comments, guys. And on these topics or any topics, we certainly want to dive into it. And I'm kind of on the fence of whether, this new payroll system, if you will, because that's what it is. I told you when the court ruled that the transfer portal, they could use anytime. NIL money could be used in any way they wanted to use it. That amateurism was dead. And this is pretty much the final nail. I mean, you're going to be able to pay guys directly from the school. You don't have to go through the NIL consortiums, whatever you want to call them. You're going to be able to get money directly from the school, which, by the way, they were getting in scholarships. So this isn't new, I guess. But they're professionals now. I mean, that's the only way to take a look at it. What do we got here? John DeLon. John DeLon's been missing. How long you had this up, John? You got it in there before I even started the show. I can see that. It looks like Hofstra football is dead. And You feel nothing. Oh, God. You know, Hoster's had some good teams over the years here in the East, by the way, and produced a couple of decent players. Wayne Corbett is one that comes to mind, produced for the NFL. But welcome, John. We haven't seen you in a few weeks. You should be interested in the Harvey Williams interview. You're an LSU fan. Good evening, Dave Guyette, our resident Syracuse fan out there in Amsterdam, New York. Good to have you with us. There's Ralph Williams from RW Media, as I mentioned. As I said, check out his stuff, all of Ralph's content. He does some great stuff. He does some sorts of stuff that's not even sports related, and it's a good listen. So make sure you do that, and we'll continue to try to remember to get there and share everything. Daniel Barry Sports Highlight says hello. Guys, get out and see Daniel Barry. Stuff on YouTube. Good stuff there. Steve Orpello, good evening out there in Perth, New York. First of our Perth contingent to get in tonight. There's John DeLon. Harvey Williams was one of your favorite football players as a kid. Well, John, if you can't make it Friday morning, and by the way, guys, we do always encourage our live audience. This is why I try to do all the interviews live. When I had we did this in the beginning, the interview portion of the interview show itself. That's how we started. We started doing these interviews. That's how this whole TGI Sports Talk adventure for me got started. Was interviewing guys that I enjoyed watching the past: football, baseball, basketball, coaches, players, sports writers. For a while, we were taping them. This is when the late Dan Harris. Thank you, Dan, for the work that you did. He got me back doing some interviews because the legwork of getting guys was getting hard for me to keep up with. But we were mostly taping them. Recording them previous, then playing them on a set time, which I didn't find as enjoyable because I'd like to get my audience involved, as you guys know. And Friday mornings, we're doing the shows live. There could be one here or there if I get a guy in Hawaii or West Coast and it doesn't work out live. We may have to do but that's a place to fill in when we can't have a guest or a guest cancels on me or whatever. So get in there Friday morning if you're a football fan or a Harvey Williams fan, as John is. Get in, and if you can't get in, then watch it later. You can certainly catch it at any time on TGI Sports Talk, and also we share it to all the groups, and there's a ton of places you can watch these. Hello, Michael Gott over in the across the pond, as we like to say. I don't like the cliches, but there you got one from me. So Michael's fairly new to the show, or at least I think Michael may have followed us for a little while anyway, but just started participating, and we're really glad that he did. We had him on our Major League Baseball show last Friday. We found out he's looking for a team, and we're talking him into the Yankees. He may not be happy with that, but we are. Do you follow college sports, Michael? And do you have a football, basketball school, baseball school that you might have allegiance to? CA, what are you all doing there, buddy? Good to have you with us. Danny Fuller out in sunny California. Interesting, the Pac-12, by the way. Well, I guess they'd have to because they're part of this lawsuit going backwards, even though the Pac-12 is pretty much, I guess, officially dead. They had a vote on whether to settle this a $2.8 billion lawsuit, which a judge still has to sign off on this. I find it very hard that they won't. And there's thousands of college athletes going back the last, I think, couple of decades that will get money from this. Nobody's going to get rich off this. There's some players are going to get hundreds, some will get thousands. But the bigger news, I mean, that's big news to begin with. The bigger news is these schools all now have $20 million payrolls, including Hofstra, by the way. I know John was making a bit of a joke and whatnot, but the Hofstras of the world, maybe there's something I didn't catch about Hofstra. Maybe they dismantled their sports program. I missed it. But whether it's the AAC or the, Conference USA, these schools will have $20 million budgets to pay players to come play at their school. Now, that's every sport. And by the way, something that was not mentioned in this, and I've said all along, with the rulings that have happened so far about NIL and And, well, I guess NIL mostly. And the pay per play, which we're coming to. I said we were coming to, and here we are. That's official. There's still that NIL is still kind of, whatever, wishy-washy. It's pay for play. Let's not kid ourselves. But now there's an extra $20 million in the kitty that is not called anything except payroll, basically. But that's got to go over all sports, non-revenue sports, men's and women's sports. So one thing that hasn't been mentioned in this whole thing is Title IX. And I guarantee you there's more to come lawsuit-wise, most likely because of the direction these conferences have taken. And if of that $20 million, there's not an equal, under the law, and I don't know, nobody's talked about how Title IX comes into this. Under the laws that exist today, the federal laws that exist today, half of that money would have to go to women's sports. Again, it's going to be our major topic. I would love to talk about Bill Walton today too, and I know Danny Fuller. I'm sure as a UCLA fan, you have some thoughts on Bill Walton tonight, which we'll get into along with these football stories. And before we go, I want to jump into the baseball super regionals as we start. So, Dave, will all college players get paid or just some? No, not all. Again, I guess on some teams they could all get paid, but not everybody's getting a piece of this $20 million. A lot of players, I don't even know how they're really breaking out the $2.8 billion that will be played retroactively to some players that are playing today and players over the last however many years. But no, let's just talk about going forward with the $20 million payrolls. No, not everybody will get that. They can target one guy. Now, I did say, too, another thing to think about is I've said for a while that in some perverted way, maybe all of this will keep players at one school. Because, listen, if I'm going to take, I don't know, 5 of my $20 million a year and give it to some star quarterback, well, I may make him sign a contract that you're not going to leave within 3 years. It might help keep players where they are. I don't know. I'm looking for a silver lining. Second Perth guy is in. Hello, Rick Sherlock. How are you? Good to have you with us. Big Georgia fan. Interesting, too. At least Dabo Sweeney's got $20 million to spend now on players because he won't get involved in the transfer portal. They've done very well. NIL isn't necessarily theoretically up to him, but he might get involved a little more, and maybe this will save Dabo's hide at Clemson. Who knows? Knowles versus the Tigers now for the national title out of La Costa. What is that? Help me out. What is that? Let me take a look. Is that the college softball? Let me just open this up here and find out. Scores. What's being played right now? I'm not sure what we're getting played right now. I don't see a game being played. I do have the softball scoreboard here. They're well into their just to touch on that real quick. They're into their double elimination round, and you got games tomorrow. Number 6 UCLA, Danny Fuller playing Alabama. Texas, number 1 against number 8 Stanford. Number 2 Oklahoma against number 10 Duke. And number 4 Florida against Oklahoma State. So I'm not sure what sport we're on here. CA, help me out. Trevor Weaver from England playing for Florida State. What are they playing? What am I missing here? I feel like I'm missing something, Danny. Or not Danny, CA. Oh, maybe this is golf. Oh, golf. All right, cool. This is a sport we don't talk about a lot in college. Golf. This is the Whoa. This is the finals. By the way, Larry Sorensen, who we'll get in we have to get Larry in the next few weeks, even if we're going to take a hiatus. I got to get him in before. I want to get him in before we take it. I want to get him to talk to him about this, how the landscape has changed since we last talked to him. It's amazing. But Wake Forest in the ACC has got a rich golf history for sure. What do you got here, Michael? College football attached to the Irish because of Sky Sports. Gotcha. Showed Notre Dame games over the last few years. There you go. Well, that's a good team to be tied to. It's a very historic program. Have won a national title in quite some time. 1989, I want to say. 88? Maybe 88. But a very rich history, and they're trying to revive that history and trying to survive as an independent in an environment that may not lend itself to it. So, listen, I'm a Miami Hurricane fan by marriage, basically, right? As you guys know, unlike pro sports, where I am solid in my allegiances, I like stories in college basketball and football. I will move around. I'm still a Marquette Warrior fan from when Al McGuire was there. No better, more colorful coach in college basketball at the time I was growing up. So I still have a bit of an allegiance there. I like Notre Dame. I think, again, sports are better. Every sport is better when certain teams are good. College football is better when Notre Dame is good, when Alabama's good. Sorry, John. When you'll hurt, I won't say this one. You'll kill me if I said the other one from the West Coast. It's just better. But we can leave it at Notre Dame if you want. College football is better when Notre Dame is good and relevant. College basketball is better when UCLA is good. And again, we say that with a heavy heart tonight with the passing of the great Bill Walton. No better college basketball player I have seen in my lifetime than Bill Walton. And Bill Walton was a lot of things, man, and he was true to who he was, and he still credits. And there can't be two human beings on the face of the earth, especially at the time Bill Walton was at UCLA, that were at further ends of the spectrum than Bill Walton and John Wooden. And I know that Bill Walton credits anything that he's accomplished in his life, basically. He gives a lot of credit. Well, he deserves credit for himself, obviously, but John Wooden, he gives a lot of credit for who he became. Dave says, what if a player's not passing? Will he still get paid? That's a great question, Dave, and it did come up a little bit. We talked about this, I think, on the Sunday Stream of Consciousness, and again, I think there's still a lot of questions. Academic standards still theoretically have to be adhered to. Now, again, there are a lot of schools that play fast and loose with those rules in no matter whatever aspect we want to talk about, right? But theoretically, yes, you cannot be failing and not meeting the academic standards in play. Doesn't matter whether you're getting paid $5 million or getting a free scholarship, or you're a walk-on, which, again, will there even be walk-ons anymore? So good question, Dave. And yes, but again, they find ways around all this stuff, right? 20 million. Again, it's not. Again, Rick, I mentioned what has not been talked about even a little bit with this $20 million, and this number will probably go up, as we go forward. This is just the beginning. But again, if you want to look at this by the letter of the law, the federal law, Title IX says 10 million of that has got to go to women's sports. So they may benefit more than the men out of this. So we'll see. yeah, a $20 million budget is still a big donators because the NIL is still there. So that doesn't go away. And plus, the NIL right now, it's really, again, there's no restrictions. I can still just pay you to come to my school based on the money I can raise from my donors. So the big schools are going to have still going to have a huge advantage here, right? But this might be the first step. And Notre Dame, speaking of Notre Dame, they've gone to Congress, and I haven't wanted Congress involved in this up until now because the federal government F's everything up they touch. Everything. I mean, consider before the day, I say this all the time, consider before the days of FedEx and UPS, they had a monopoly on shipping and mail and whatnot, and they lost money. I don't want them handling my health care or my sports. Or anything for that matter. But we need somebody to come in here and do something. Because right now it's the wild, wild west, and we need some more rules. We'll look at a little bit. I found a decent article here that explains, and let me get to a couple more comments and I'll jump into this. What it all means. What's next? I got to find this. There it is right here. Basically what the settling the suit means and a little bit about the $20 million budgets. I've seen a course at the resort looking lots. I've seen the course at the resort looking lots better. Where are they playing? I don't even know where they're playing, CA. Help me out. John is with us. Yeah, what was the citing Hofstra? I was mostly talking about the smaller G5 and the below programs that won't survive now, that they can't leech off the big boy programs. I'm not sure exactly. Why wouldn't they be able to? They're going to have money to spend. They can pay. Again, right now, there's nothing that keeps, you can pay, Alabama, let's use LSU for an example. I mean, they can pay John Smith, $2 million to come to their school, and he can, and if it's only for 1 year without restrictions, he could enter transfer portal, and Hofstra could offer him money in a starting position. He could still go there. So I'm not so sure. And again, most people do think that this is the death knell for the smaller G5s. I get that, John. I'm not so sure. Again, if they use the money, if they can raise the money, I guess there's that other question, right? Again, a lot of these programs are losing money. I'm pretty sure, and again, I'm not sure if I dreamed this, but I'm pretty sure I read Ohio State lost money last year. The football program lost money. Now, big TV contracts, again, between big TV contracts making these Power 5 conferences flush, they'll have the $20 million to spend. They'll have the bigger boosters with the NL money because that's not going away. And again, as of now, that $20 million is only an incremental to what I can spend on spend from my NIL bucket, whatever we want to call it, because there's no restrictions on how I can use that money now. So it's a bit of a, I'm not sure what to make of it. I want to go through the points in this, the bullet points in this article, and we'll see what makes sense and what doesn't. Michael says college basketball. I got, for some unknown reason, a soft spot for Stanford. Wow, man. That is rooting for an underdog right there. Stanford, again, it's been, Jesus. It's been decades probably since they've been relevant in college basketball. They've had good football seasons. It's been quite some time since they were good there. Jim Harbaugh and David Shaw had some really good teams earlier in this century. Well, I should say in the teens. And they had a good run in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s when Jim Plunkett was there. But basketball, man, it's been a rough road there. They had a good team, 30 years ago. They came here to Albany and played in the regionals of the NCAA tournament, so we saw them up close. Scott was thinking the other day, I do believe Boston College will be much better with Bill O'Brien as the new head coach. I think so too, by the way. And if you weren't following this story, and I know I'm pretty sure we talked about it at some point, Bill O'Brien, late of New England Patriots offensive coordinator. He'd been hired by Ohio State for the same job after being let go by the Patriots, was only there a few weeks before he was offered the BC job because the BC coach left to become the offensive coordinator. Where? Cleveland? Not even sure where. That started a whole thing, and Bill O'Brien goes to Boston College. I do think they'll be much better, and that also brought Chip Kelly east to Ohio State instead of being the head coach. I didn't ask you about this one, Danny. I don't think. You're probably glad to see Chip Kelly go, is my guess. That program didn't do badly under him. I think expectations were higher, obviously, based on what he did at Oregon. But it's very rare you see it. Again, maybe we did talk about this because I think we decided he was going to get fired early into next season, if most likely if he did stay. But you don't often see a head coach leave a head coach position of his own free will and become offensive coordinator somewhere. So it's very interesting. That whole thing is interesting. But to your point, Scott, I do think Bill O'Brien, he did a good job at Penn State under some horrific conditions after all of the Joe Paterno and Sandusky. I don't even know what to call it other than tragedy, what went on there. He did a really good job rebuilding that program. I think he was there 3 years, I want to say. And turned it into the Texas job. And Bill O'Brien's a good football man. I think he'll be fine there. I really do. Danny absolutely can say Walton, if healthy, is in a conversation for the greatest center. I mean, you look at even when he played, he's a perfect example of you just can't look at the numbers in the box score or the stat sheets, the total points scored and whatnot, and really get an appreciation for how good Bill Walton was. As I said, watching him as I was in 72, I was 12, 13, 14. So I'm in my formative years. I'm a Marquette Warrior fan at that time, by the way. And that great NC State team that beat Bill Walton and UCLA in 74 in the semifinals, they went on to beat Marquette in the final. But Bill Walton, I still think, was the finest college basketball player I have seen in the 50-plus years I watched the game. In the pros, in Portland, they didn't love him immediately because of his political views and some stuff that went on. He was hurt. He wasn't scoring 30 points a game like Jabbar or Alcindor, I guess, still in the early part of that. Maybe he'd just gone to Jabbar, actually, at that point. But he didn't have the players around him or the coaching. Jack Ramsey got there, brought in guys who knew their roles, brought an enforcer in to protect them in Lucas. And that team was one of the most fun teams to watch, and to me, in the history of basketball, at least my history of basketball. It didn't last because Walton broke his foot, and we know what happened after that. They talked him into painkillers. But this was a guy, and he was a little moody and upset. And I think, we talked about this on the show I was on just before this. And I think Bill Walton was always true to himself. And some people didn't like him because of his political views early on in his life. Some of the people that he hung out with once he got to Portland even. Some strange stuff happened around those people. And the team still wasn't winning. He wasn't a savior right away. But Danny's right. I think without him getting hurt, he wasn't quite the Mickey Mantle of basketball, maybe, but that could be my Yankee bias too, Danny. But I'm not going to say anything bad about Bill Walton, the basketball player. It's healthy. When healthy, he was almost always the best player on the floor, and it didn't always show up in the stat sheet. He was a great passer, and it didn't show up as assists. He averaged 5 assists a game, I think, that championship season. But he wasn't getting assists. He started those fast break with just tremendous, quick outlet passes. How you get rid of the ball so quick and on the button, but he didn't get the assists because somebody else did down the court. Great player. Chris F. Grave, our Canadian correspondent, Fremont High School. Excuse me, I'm not drinking. I just had the hiccups tonight. I've had the hiccups. Hiccups has been a problem for me for like 2 decades. We've talked about it on the Sunday Stream of Consciousness, and somebody told me that it's a sign of heart disease. My doctor says it isn't, so my cardiologist. What do you got for us here? Eric Davis, San Francisco Giant, Detroit Tiger, and San Francisco sensation Eric Davis turned 62. Well, are you sure you don't mean Cincinnati Red? Los Angeles Dodger? Is there another? Because I may just be remembering this differently. What do you got for us? I'm going to look this up, even though we're violating the college rules here tonight. Chris, we'll overlook it because how much I like you. Is there another Eric Davis that I'm not aware of? Let me look. We got to say Fremont High School. What do you got? It's Eric Davis. Yeah, it's his birthday today. Didn't play with the Tigers. Did play with the Giants 1 year. Played with the Dodgers, I believe, too, right? Reds, Dodgers. He did play with the Tigers. My bad. But you only mentioned the Tigers and the Giants. I'm not sure why you left the Reds are where he's best known, isn't it? But anyway, Chris, great catch and happy birthday to Eric Davis. Would have been a great college player if he played in college. We'll give him that, right? I wish this was the baseball the baseball update, Major League Baseball update. John DeLong, payroll makes the athletes employees, agreed, of universities and colleges. Red line sports will be considered underperforming, and thus there is grounds to fire them, which takes Title IX out of the equation, most likely, right? I mean, again, is that good or is that bad? I've gotten myself in a lot of trouble talking about women's sports in this country. But Title IX was a very, very important. Everybody gets on Richard Nixon for doing a lot of bad stuff, which he did. I mean, there was a lot of crooked stuff going on. There were some good things that happened in the Nixon administration, and Title IX was a big one. And if that goes away, I don't know. But you're right. Colleen Schwartz. Oh, don't make me blush, Colleen. Thank you. One of the Ryan twins. Soft spot in my heart for the Ryan twins all the time. If my wife's watching right now, please. I love you. Colleen, thanks for popping in tonight. Another Perthite. Actually, Colleen, if you're still here, I know sometimes I get chat and it's a while before I get to the comments, but we got a lot of Perth people that show up on this show, and you have just been added to that very elite crowd that joins this show week after week. This show, and don't forget the one-on-one with Keith Engle interview series on Friday morning. Harvey Williams from LSU, former LSU Tiger standout, Kansas City Chief and Oakland Raider running back will join me Friday. We had our guest last week, Chris Mensch. Great interview. Kevin Mensch, sorry. Chris helped me. Chris F. Grave helped me get him on. I mix up their names. Kevin Mensch, former Ranger and Brewer. We had a great conversation. Hey, guys, tremendous amount of views for that interview. Great job. Thank you. So, Colleen, thanks for popping in. We love when our Perthites come out. Speaking of one, here's Steven. They're ruining college sports. Well, Steve, It's hard. I feel the same way. I'm a traditionalist. I want my rivalries. And again, John DeLong is going to get all over me. The Pac-12 going away is to me is criminal. 125-year history. We don't care about any of that. All we care about is money. All we care about is the SEC and the Big Ten. That's it. That's all we care about. Big 12. Well, what do we call the Big Ten? They can't even count and haven't been able to for decades. But the problem is I'm trying to find silver linings of ways that this will be a good thing. I'm going to watch the games, but I don't know what's going to happen. This is just the first step. $20 million budget. Maybe the NIL, everything gets rolled into one. Maybe we have to have a salary cap at some point because, LSU and Alabama and Georgia are going to be able to spend $200 million a year. They're probably spending more than that. Some of these schools, and not that. Miami, Miami spends more NIL money than anybody. Thank you, by the way. Just thinking about Colleen's comment. I got to go back here because, I'm 60. I'm going to be 64 shortly. I don't get this very often. The last guy who commented on something like this said I look like a giant penis, for crying out loud. That guy cracked me up. Oh, anyway, they are ruining college sports. And again, it depends on... I don't know, Stephen. I'm still trying to hope that somewhere we'll get some semblance of amateurism back in this sport. I don't know how. The genie's out of the bottle, and you can't get them back in. That's the problem. And you don't believe that's an oversimplification, what you were talking about as far as I think you're right. I mean, now... they had ways around with the NIL money. They had ways around because the money wasn't coming directly from the universities. Even though, listen, I don't think you're going to disagree with me, John, but sometimes you surprise me. The universities controlled where that money went, right? Boosters, big donators, we're not going to go spend money, NIL money, to bring a kid to a school that the coaching staff at the school didn't want. So they controlled where the money went, but the money didn't flow through the school. So you could theoretically say they were not employees. You can't say that now. And what happens to the walk-ons? Are they dead? So, no, I don't think it's an oversimplification, John. I think you're right. UCLA versus Bama. What was that when I had the college girls up? We gave the girls now. We gave them a shot. We've got our own Title IX thing going on here on the College Sports Huddle with Keith Engle. I've gotten beat up a lot. I got beat up a lot during the college basketball tournaments, men's and women's, saying, oh, they'll never outdraw the men. Wow. Colleen saying hi to Steven. That's perf people. Thank you, Scott. I did figure that out somehow after he talked about the holes. Kenny Gifford tonight, by the way. We're playing Eagle Crest, 7:21 Saturday morning. So Rick, wish me luck. I played with Kenny a couple weeks ago, and he promised me that he promised me that again that I wouldn't get affected by his extracurricular activities unless in one hole. But we had a lot of fun, and we'll have some fun Saturday too. John says, did you know the Notre Dame translated means old lady? Does it? I'm not sure. And that's a nice message you're sending, John. Let me check it out. I'm going to check you. Yeah, you know me. I'm going to fact check you. Translation of Notre Dame. Checking you out. It's not old lady. Notre Dame de Paris, meaning Old Our Lady of Paris. Let me check out. I got an alternate one here. Our Lady. You kind of spelled the thing wrong, John. Nice try. If you show me something, maybe there's another definition here somewhere. What's the English language? Our Lady. So not old lady. You got the lady part right. Scott Colby talking about Bill Walton was the best passing big man in the sport of basketball. I 150%. See, I can't do math. It's a Perth education. I know you can't do more than 100%. I do know that. And I still said 150%, but I do 150% agree with you, Scott. And again, that's why you can't just look at the stats. You say, well, man, he averaged 5 at his best year. He averaged 5 assists a game in the NBA. And what did he do in college? They probably only kept assists. I looked at this. I think I only saw assists for like 1 year. UCLA, 1 year, 148 assists in 27 games. What is that? Jesus, that's nearly 7 a game. It's 6 something a game. But that doesn't even do him justice, because where he really excelled was that outlet pass on the fast break. He was sometimes passing the ball before he hit the ground on a defensive rebound. Just a tremendous player. Graceful before he got hurt. Made a great comeback with the Celtics. Knowing he wouldn't play a lot, but he played a vital role in that championship team, and he loved every minute of it. And I think he was redeemed a bit in his own mind. And it's really sad. And Danny was right when the Mickey Mantle, you can compare him with a lot of players. Mickey Mantle at least got to have some really historic numbers. Bill didn't get a chance to do that because of the foot injuries. And, it's a great example of what can happen when a team doesn't have your best interests at heart. Read Breaks of the Game. If you haven't read Breaks of the Game, it's a nonfiction book by David Halberstam about the team in 78, 77, 78 team in Portland after they won the championship, which was even better. They were like 50-10 when Walton broke his foot. And they talked him into, as they got closer to playoffs or into the playoffs, of shooting up painkillers into his foot. So they told me he couldn't get hurt any worse, and he did. And he got hurt several more times, and he sued the organization. He sued the doctors. And, it's a great what-if situation, what would have happened. Great player. Again, best college basketball player this lonely little podcaster has ever seen play. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to beat me on that one. I have been to South Bend to a football game. Listen, there's a lot of places in the SEC that are hellholes as well, by the way. Is it South? It makes Stillwater look like a metropolis. South Bend isn't that. You get to the campus, it's gorgeous. I get it. That part of Illinois is not a thriving metropolis like Stillwater. But, there's some places in the South where some of these teams play that aren't, the campus is gorgeous. Stadium is gorgeous. The atmosphere is tremendous. Go. There's Kenny Gifford. By the way, Kenny is our resident Notre Dame fan. Kenny's been to a lot of Notre Dame games, and I'll give you a chance, Kenny, to defend South Bend, Indiana, or not. I mean, I don't really care about the city surrounding it. The campus is gorgeous. I think there's a lot of history there. So maybe I miss certain things because of the history that I see there. But Kenny's been to a ton of Notre Dame football games. I would guess they have to pay taxes on that money. Again, good question. Something that has not been addressed as far as I know. Let me look in this article again real quick. Hold on one second. I'm going to scan through it here real quick just to see if somebody has comment on that specific. What the hell happened here? Oh, Jesus. There we go. Hold on. Now I lost my where I was. Okay, what's next for the NCAA? A lot of this article is about the settlement itself. It's up to the school. So how will they distribute the revenue? That's up to the schools themselves, as I said, based on settlement terms. Each institution now will have $20 million or so, and how much of that is an allotment. Of that allotment, they choose to pay players, and which players it pays and how much is given to individuals is going to be up to them. It does not have to be spread out evenly, though Title IX, as I've been mentioning a few times, was not included in the agreement. Title IX is a federal law that requires institutions to offer equal opportunities for male and female athletes. Again, another issue that will be settled in the courts. Nothing here about taxes. What does it mean for lower revenue sports? To what John said about, underperforming sports being redlined and taken out of the budget. That's what Title IX kind of saved, by the way. It depends on the school, but common sense would suggest football and basketball would be prioritized since they net the most money. That's nothing there. A high-ranking power conference executive predicted carnage for Olympic sports. You can read into that non-revenue generating sports. What does this mean for smaller schools, which we just talked about with Hofstra and the G5 schools? It will further distance the haves from the have-nots. The conference that have lucrative TV deals from the conferences that do not. The smaller leagues already have been used as somewhat of a feeder system for the bigger ones. By the way, backwards of what you said, by the way, John. And that will only increase this chasm. Does not impact NIL payouts at all, as we've already talked about. I can't find anything about taxes. I got to believe, again, as we said, they're employees at the school. I got to believe they got to pay state and federal taxes, Kenny. How can they not? It's not a gift, and even if it's a gift, they got to pay a gift tax. It's not an inheritance, and even if it was an inheritance, they got to pay a inheritance tax. So I got to believe they're going to have to pay. You won't know, Michael. Not the end of boosters. Because, again, that $20 million isn't going. You look at the schools that are really raising a lot of NIL money, like University of Miami, it's $20 million is a drop in the bucket. Let me give you an idea. Largest NIL collectives. Here we go. Largest NIL collectives. There you go. Oh, my gosh. The collective funding for the ACC is $149 million. Well, so it's not a drop in the bucket when you distribute this. I wanted something by school. Oh, here we go. Texas. Total support. The total support from the collective for Texas is $135 million. That's from ticket sales. Hold on. Contributions, $77 million. Ohio State, $63. LSU, $75. Georgia, $74. Again. So that boosters aren't going away. Unless, again, this is just the first shot fired here, Michael. I don't think 20 million is where this stops. Maybe Congress gets involved, somebody gets involved and says, we need to get rid of this NIL deal, which, again, really was bastardized. The NIL money was literally for name, image, and likeness. The school and the NCAA could not use your name, your picture, or your likeness without compensating you. It started over a video game. Ed O'Brien sued the NCAA almost 30 years ago. That's how this started. And maybe it goes back to that. You get paid, to put your name on a billboard for a restaurant. Do a TV commercial for a car dealer. Get paid because they use your name in a video game, but not pay for play. The boosters' money end up in the NIL money that was supposed to be used for marketing purposes turned into pay for play. We all knew it would. So probably if somebody gets smart, they'll say, look, this has got to be regulated and used the way that it's supposed to be. And they'll just raise this $20 million to, I don't know, $100 million. Probably, Michael. So do the boosters go away? No. Title IX. Well, again, John, it's vague. You're right. It does. Title IX, without reading through the legislation, the bill itself. Yes, I do believe it only applies it does apply. I know it applies only to amateur athletes. So again, this muddies those waters. Are they professional athletes? I mean, just because they're employees of the university? They're paying them to play football and basketball and baseball and softball. So theoretically, they are professionals, which means they wouldn't have to pay them equally. But, well, again, there's a lot of gray area, and there will be a lawsuit, and there'll be a definitive ruling about that. And you may very well be right, John, that Title IX will go away. And underperforming revenue generating sports will go away from these schools as well because there'd be no funding, which is going to hurt the women more than it hurts the men. It's going to kill the Olympic sports, as we talked about. Track and field, golf, whatever we want to talk about. It's going to be a joke. Joe Biden. He's on a line for me. Oh my God. Somebody gave my name. Somebody gave my phone number to some Democratic fundraisers because I get texts from Paul Taco all the time. Oh God. Ohio State must have good accounting practices. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I read they lost money. The football team lost money last year. Yeah, maybe I dreamed it. I don't know. Let me just see if I can find a story here quick. I meant to look for this earlier and freaking work got in the way. Ohio State's like favorite. Nothing here. Yeah, nothing there. Maybe I dreamed the whole thing. John says, unless Maurice Clarett comes back to life, and he couldn't even play today, could he? My favorite college football player, the guy I say is the best college football player in my lifetime, Archie Griffin, probably couldn't play today. Clarett came back to life and was given an Ohio State athletic department credit card. There's no way Ohio State football lost money. I probably heard something different and mixed it up. So that's my bad. That's very funny. That's a very funny story. He paid for a lot of tattoos when he got Ohio State's credit card. The last time Stanford was relevant in college sports was the Mike Montgomery. I was going to say Mike Montgomery, and Mike Montgomery was still coaching here a few years ago, much lower level than even Stanford, by the way. And that's the days that I talked about. They played here as a 1 or 2 seed here in Albany. They got beat by Siena here one of the local NCAA schools, plays in the MAC conference here in the Northeast. I think they were in the MAC then too. Mike Dean was a coach, and they beat a number 3 seeded Stanford team as a 14. That was a big deal at the time. Now we got 16s are beating 1s and 15s are beating 2s all the time, it seems. But back then, 14 beating a 13 was a huge deal. So, yes, that was a Mike Montgomery coach team as well. Packers. Oh, the BC coach. You could be right. Yeah. Here's Danny's comment on Chip Shelley. Yeah, I think we had this conversation. CA did say La Costa Resort. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we'll play Eagle Crest and we'll be happy about it, I guess, Kenny. We're good, by the way, Kenny. 7:21. Our other twosome will be there, and we're supposed to check in 15 minutes before. It's a good thing, Kenny. I thought. We did that because my buddy, the hockey player, who you'll remember when you see him, Brett, wanted to play Eagle Crest. Van Patten, you can get tee times sooner than 4 days out. Eagle Crest holds them, and you can't get them until 4 days out, and it's a good thing. I thought to myself last night, I'm watching a Ranger game, and I said, wait a minute. Technically, it'll be Wednesday at midnight. And sure enough, I got in there, and then I lost 3 tee times while I was trying to log in because I forgot my login. You got to have an account, which I had to 2 weeks ago when we played there, Kenny, and I couldn't remember it for the life of me. So it was going to be 7:20. By that time, I had 7:21 or 9:45, and I didn't want to play that late. I don't think you did. So anyway, 7:21 it is. Andrew Luck, Stanford. Those Stanford football teams were good, but Michael was talking about basketball. Andrew Luck was there playing for Jim Harbaugh, and he may have played for David Shaw as well. I'm not trying to remember. I think he might have played for both of them. Because, again, for everything you guys hate about Jim Harbaugh has won and turned every program he's ever coached around. Kenny talks about Walton's knees were shot coming out of college. Good point. He did have knee problems, but it wasn't the knee problems that hurt him in the pros. It was the feet, which might be related, I suppose. But they said that he just had these brittle carpal tunnel bones and whatnot, and and the team did him no favors because they said, shoot yourself up with the painkiller and you're not going to do any more damage. And he absolutely destroyed his career. And they helped him do it. Great player, man. But he did have knee problems at UCLA for sure. His game against Memphis in 1973 final, I think it was probably the greatest college basketball game anybody ever played. He missed one shot from the field and from the free throw line, I believe. Danny can probably back me up or correct me on that. Just a tremendous, tremendous game. Noles up in 3 of 5 matches over number 1 Auburn, halfway around through the course. Where are the Noles ranked, by the way, CA? I do want to get to some baseball here a little bit. I want to give you the super regional matchups. The Big Ten News Conference slogan is we are the Big Ten +4. Come join us. They haven't been able to count forever. And then they kind of hide it, right, by changing the logo. You ask Harvey Williams to remember his little brother almost breaking a long run against Florida. You're not going to join us, I guess, to ask that question yourself, which is fine, John. I'm just saying I don't want to steal your thunder. I'm gonna make a note here Little Bro almost breaking a run. I'm trying to. I won't even be able to read this by Friday morning. Run against Gators. Getting tripped by his safety. He leaped and landed on his head like a lawn dart. Oh, but he get hurt. James Martin, who was part of the National Streaming Sports Network and follows this show. He's not with us tonight. He wasn't on the Wednesday night show that I do with them from 6:15 or so to 7. He's a big LSU fan, and he says Harvey Williams was his favorite player as well. No, he did not wear shoes, by the way. I think he meant shoes. Kenny played barefooted when we played 2 weeks ago at Eagle Crest, and I would expect him to be barefoot Saturday morning. It's old lady. It's appropriate because everyone on Notre Dame's offense is as fast as an old lady. By the way, look at. I think Notre Dame's a top 5 team this year. I like Riley Leonard a lot. He's fast. They've done a very good job since your coach carpet bagged his way out of South Bend, John, down to Baton Rouge, and they've done a very good job of improving the skill positions. Which was not something that Coach Kelly really seemed to care about a lot. And I do think that team speed has improved. The athleticism has improved on that offense. And Sam Hartman, I think, was not the savior he thought he'd be last year. But I think if Riley Leonard comes in there and is healthy, I think you're going to see a really, really good Notre Dame team this year. You can poo-poo that if you'd like. I know you think the SEC will probably have the top 5 teams in the country, but that's not going to happen. They could have a couple of them because I think Ole Miss is going to be top 5 or close to it. I think Georgia will be close to it. They've got Texas obviously coming in. I mean, they could have 4 teams in the top 10. But Notre Dame, I think, is potentially a top 5 program this year. Saying the campus smells like fuel processing facility. Yeah, come on, John. You don't have any agenda here, right? This is, I say this about Newark, by the way. I've been there once. I did not experience this. The campus, maybe there was a fuel leak or something that day. I've been to Newark like 30 times and it stinks like that all the time. But I know Newark is not in the SEC. Campus smells like a fuel oil processing facility. There's nothing in the SEC even remotely close to that. I know the SEC, they listen. Get back to me when they cure cancer or something, will you, John? Jeepers, man. Oh, maybe they have already, and the government's suppressing it. I don't know. Florida State and Auburn, each up in 2, even in 1, even overall matches in the back 9. CA keeping us abreast during the college sports huddle of the NCAA golf championships. Thank you so much, CA. I probably find that on the TV here somewhere if I took the time to look. Notre Dame is a class act and has done nothing but good for South Bend. The city itself has found rough times, as many have, some very good eateries. There you go. Look, this is what, I don't know what John, and I like John. John and I banter back and forth a lot. As I say on all my shows, I get into it pretty good. I get into it with Kenny pretty good sometimes. I get into it with Rick a little bit. I've gotten into it with John a lot on this show. We always part friends. I think John feels the same way. We have healthy disagreements, but I'm not going to sit here and, they came here for the NCAA tournament and bashed Albany. Why bash the city that's hosting you and putting on a nice event? South Bend and Notre Dame on football Saturdays is the place to be and make something good out of a city that's had some hard times. So, again, there's some cities in Florida that aren't, whatever. I'm not going to bash. I'm not bashing any place except Newark. Newark stinks. I don't think they have any sports there anyway. Olympic sports would be more interesting if there was more carnage. Like maybe. Oh, I'm sorry. I banged my glasses on my mic. Like make your own bungee cord jumping. Why isn't that an Olympic sport? The X Games probably have something very similar, John. So I think the X Games are more your speed than Olympic sports. And by the way, the Olympics have lost some of their luster for me because, again, it's another place where there is no amateurism anymore. But there was a time when it was 100% amateurs. And I think I talked about it a couple of weekends ago, 2 weekends ago. Well, actually 1.5, 10 days ago, we were in Lake Placid. And there's so much there. It's such a quaint it's a hamlet. It's not even a town, I don't think. It's a hamlet. You couldn't do the Olympics there today. But it takes you back to a time when true amateurism was part of the Olympic experience. And a team of kids, true amateurs, beat a professional team from the Soviet Union. And we also, Eric Heiden won 5 gold medals. It brought me back to a time and reminded me why I like amateur athletics. And also reminded me why I like amateurism in my college sports as well. There's something to be said of kids out there playing for, the colors on their jersey. That's all dead. Dead. Michael it will just make, the boosters will never go away. Because again, right now, unless somebody changes the NIL rules, and maybe Congress gets involved, and if they do, they'll screw it up even worse than it is now. But maybe they can get involved. Somebody can do something to rein in the NIL money, because right now that $20 million is just nothing. And the boosters are going to, turn that into $100 million for the power conferences. A lot of that LSU money comes from a donation that season ticket holders in every LSU sport are required to make. That's great. Extort the fans too. I love these schools, and the fans just let them get away with it. So everybody at LSU is a booster. Everybody goes to a game. Huge turnout in Saginaw for the announcement of the Memorial Cup location. Has the announcement been made? Chris? Scott Colby had a chance to go down to Augusta and play the Masters. Come on. And you didn't call your oldest friend? I mean, but chronologically oldest, not that we've been friends for that long. I mean, by the calendar, Masters golf. It's on my bucket list. I've knocked a few things off my bucket list. Notre Dame football was on my bucket list. Pebble Beach is on my bucket list. Augusta is on my bucket list. There's a few other things. I can't get into all of them. I'm going to have to live a long time to get to them. Judge Gonzalez is here. Hello, my friend. For the sports authorities, guys, get out there. As I tell all the viewers and audiences that I speak to so many times during the week, get to the sports authorities. Like and follow that group. John does a great job there as the admin. And whether you're looking for contemporary sports or nostalgia, I mean, there's a lot there. Chris F. Grave, you'd love this site. John does a tremendous job. Turned my brother-in-law, Drew, onto it, and he's I don't know, if you check your list of engagers, John, he's got to be near the top. Rick Sherlock, didn't they put it to be a vegetarian? Not sure what we're talking about. I think if we're talking about Bill Walton, he was a vegetarian for sure. Will payment to players in college sports take away the passion, tradition, and work ethic in the athletes? Well, again, Michael, this has been one of the things that I've railed on since this started. I mean, so far, maybe, again, I'm looking for silver linings, right? The passion, the work ethic, I don't think has changed. The tradition is absolutely changed. Traditional rivalries that have been played for 100 years are gone in a lot of cases. They've tried to preserve some of them. But again, 125 years worth of history in the Pac-12 is gone because the Pac-12 is no more because of realignment. And it's not because of the payments necessarily, Michael, but it's a byproduct of the payments because realignment is about the TV contracts and everything else. And that's what drives the money. That's partly what drives the money that these schools are now going to have available to distribute. And, the higher profile the school is, the more money there's going to be from boosters for donations to drive on NIL. It's all related. It's all a twisted spider web, all connected. The big TV contracts, the NIL money, the transfer portal, it's all connected. And I'm trying to find silver linings. And I'm hoping that, maybe kids will stay in school at least, or stay at schools and not move around every year, not have JT Daniels playing for 4 schools in 4 years, which now you could just move around as much as you want. But right now, there's nothing in place that will stop that I'm aware of, unless these schools start signing guys to multi-year contracts. They're going to be professionals. You'll probably see that. I don't know. Rick still doesn't trust the coach. I'm sure he's talking about Notre Dame. Listen, coming into the situation he came into, think about some of the coaches at Notre Dame that followed great coaches and didn't do well. Eric Parsegian won a national championship. Dan Devine comes in there. He did win a national championship, so he did okay. But think about the Jerry Faust, the Bob Davies, the Herm Winninghams. Relatively speaking, he's done very well. Lou Holtz didn't do as well as Marcus Freeman has done his first couple of years. So, relatively speaking, he's done pretty well. The SEC is so good they'll have 5 teams in the top 4. John. And no one will be quite sure how they did it. Yeah, I know. They could have 5 in the top 10. They're not going to have 4 in the top 5. And they're definitely going to have 5 in the top 4. But I get your point, John. They're going to be good. I don't disagree. There's a fuel processing facility north of Notre Dame's campus, and the wind blows. All right. You're a Notre Dame expert, John. When they join the SEC, you'll be all set. That's not happening, by the way. I can sum up the Pac-12 as dead in 3 words. Fair weather fans. I don't know if I agree with that. Danny Fuller, you with me? Danny Fuller is a big West Coast fan. He's in LA. He's a UCLA fan. I do not think Fairweather fans is a fair commenter, but I read an article the other day that was predicting Marcus Freeman and Sam Pittman will both be fired at the end of this season. Arkansas will hire. Well, I think you're saying Arkansas will hire Freeman. Arkansas can't fire and hire Pittman at the same time. So you're saying Arkansas will hire Freeman? Sam Pittman's definitely on the fire line. He's one of the coaches on the hottest seat. He nearly got fired last year, right? Where's my list of other coaches here? I want to get into the baseball real quick. Who else is in trouble? Billy Napier, we know, is in trouble. Satterfield of Cincinnati's in trouble, I believe. Aranda at Baylor. And sure, Joe Moorhead, who's a really good assistant coach, is in trouble at Akron, too. Some coaches are just good assistants. Scott Satterfield probably should have stayed at LSU. I'm sorry, LSU. Louisville. Sorry, John. I think that I really think that myself, Sam Pittman is the most likely to get fired. And when I look at this site that I use to kind of follow some of these guys, I mean, again, I'm not doubting the veracity of the article you read, and these things are subjective, right? They don't even have Freeman in the top 40 of coaches on the hot seat. I mean, you got guys like Ryan Day ahead of him, Shane Beamer, who I think has done a great job at South Carolina. Craig Schiano, he's not getting fired. Speaking of places that stink, sorry, New Jersey smells. I will agree. If you want to bring up that state and Newark, even East Rutherford, where Rutgers plays, it's smelly. Now, Marcus Freeman, 54th. 54th. He's won 70% of his games in 2 years. He's 19-8. That's not horrible. That's better than Lou Holtz his first 2 years. Now, Lou Holtz inherited a worse situation, taking over Jerry Faust. Jesus. Robert Wardell, welcome. Don't hate on my Washington Huskies in the Pac-12 went out winners. Thank you. Well, runners up. Winners of the Pac-12. Gets to the championship game. I love that. That team was well coached. Kellen DeBoer, very good. Glad he landed in a good position. Washington going to the Big Ten. We'll see how they do. Washington's going to have a tough team this year, Robert. A tough year this year. I mean, they virtually lost. They virtually lost 90% of their starting players. Maybe more. Maybe it's more like 95. Between a transfer portal and graduation. Now, Jed Fish, who's a really good coach, you're getting up there. I think we'll do fine. And I know he's had a pretty good spring portal. So we'll see how that goes. Don't know if you agree with that. Have you seen USC's crowd after they lose 2 games? The Coliseum is like a ghost town. Well, first of all, the place holds like 120,000 people. Well, I know the Big House is another place. They fill it up. But it's a horrible place to watch a football game, by the way, John. One team of crap fans does not make them all fair weather. That's a good point. Again, I really believe that the teams up north, especially the Northwest, Washington State, Oregon State, they've supported teams win and lose through the years. Stanford supports your team, as far as I know. USC, I'll give you USC. But again, you're going to throw Utah supports those teams, their teams tremendously, win or lose. again, I think you're not being fair there, but again, we're using the SEC as our, litmus test here. So, I think that Freeman Pittman article is pure clickbait. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Bought it so that we could laugh at it and ridicule it. I think it's hilarious. You think Marcus Freeman is really going to Arkansas? Now, Pittman probably is one of the most likely guys to get fired if they don't have a good year. And they're in for a tough year probably with as good as the top of the SEC is going to be, they could have a lot of trouble. New Jersey smells because of the chemical plants, but it is the Garden State. It is kind of ironic. They're growing smokestacks in New Jersey. So here I am jumping on the bandwagon. I said I wouldn't bash places, and I'm bashing Newark again. My wife gets mad at me because every time we talk about flying and we say we can get a cheaper flight out of Newark, I'm going, but I gotta smell the air somewhere to get to the airport. Anyway. Let's take a quick look, guys. I want to take a quick look at NCAA baseball. We're heading to the College World Series. This first round of play is known as the regional. It's double elimination format. Each of the 16 number one seeds hosts its respective 14 regional. So they've got home field advantage when possible. Each of the 16 regionals is seeded 1 through 4. In each region, number 1 faces number 4, number 2 and 3 on the first day of action, and then we round robin it. The winner of each regional advances to this super regional. Sorry, I did call this one the super regional. I was wrong. The winners of the super regional, 8 teams in all, advance to the College World Series, where it is again a double elimination format. That super regional, by the way, is 2 out of 3. So the dates, the regionals are being played May 31st to June 1st, so they'll get started on Friday. Super regionals will be 6 to 8 or 7 to 9, depending on when they get started. College World Series starts June 14th, and the finals, after you get down to the last two teams, they play 2 out of 3. So here are the top seeds: Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas A&M. Right now, the betting favorites are Texas A&M and Tennessee, by the way. Kentucky is ranked number 2, Florida 4, Arkansas 5, Clemson 6, Georgia 7, Florida State is 8th. Here's the regions. In Athens, hosted by number 7 seed Georgia, number 7 seed overall. Number 1 Georgia against Army. These are the matchups right away. UNC, Wilmington, and Georgia Tech. The Byron State College Station Regional. Texas A&M is the host. A&M and Grambling, LSU and Texas are playing in there. Chapel Hill Regional, which is obviously North Carolina. Carolina, Long Island, LSU, John. LSU is ranked number 2 in the country. I'm sorry, not in the country. Number 2 in that regional, sorry. LSU hasn't had a great season this year by their standards. A team to watch out for here is Wake Forest. Wake Forest had a great run last year, had a tough start to this season. They're still very talented, and watch out for them, and we're going to come up on them here in just a second. The Charlottesville Regional, which is played in Virginia and Penn, Mississippi State and St. John's. Clemson Regional, hosted by Clemson. High Point had almost made the NCAA tournament for the first year in basketball this year. They make the NCAA in baseball. Congratulations to them. Vanderbilt and Coastal Carolina round out that regional. The Corvallis Regional up there in Oregon State, speaking of Pac-12 region, because this is still Pac-12 baseball. They'll have Oregon State and Tulane. Got to believe that's Tulane and a misspelling. UC Irvine and number 4 Nichols. Fayetteville and Arkansas. Southeast Missouri State. Louisiana Tech. Kansas State. Greensville, East Carolina, Evansville, West Virginia. I'm sorry, not West Virginia. VCU and Wake Forest. Wake Forest is going to be in my sleeper here, not just because of our good friend Larry Sorensen either, but we'll have Larry. I'll try to get Larry on next week before we actually hit the World Series. We'll see how Wake Forest is doing and whether he's going to have time. Knoxville, Tennessee, the number one betting favorite, by the way, Tennessee. Northern Kentucky, Southern Miss, Indiana. The Lexington Regional, obviously hosted by Kentucky, Western Michigan, Indiana State. Watch out for Indiana State being a sleeper here as well, by the way, versus Illinois. The Norman Regional, which is, of course, hosted by Oklahoma, Oral Roberts, Duke, and UConn. Then we go to the Raleigh Regional, North Carolina State, the host. Number one, they play Bryant. That's North Carolina State plays Bryant. South Carolina, another team to keep an eye on against James Madison. ACC's got some good teams this year, I'll tell you right now. Teams to watch. Santa Barbara, hosted by number 14 nationally ranked UC Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara, Fresno State, San Diego, and Oregon. Stillwater, or as John calls it, Stillwater. Number one, Oklahoma State against Niagara out of the MAC here. Nebraska and Florida. The Tallahassee region, hosted by Florida State. Florida State, Stetson, Alabama, Central Florida. And the Tucson regional, Arizona, Grand Canyon, Dallas Baptist, interesting, and West Virginia. Very interesting, some big names not in this. Cal Fullerton, Texas, Miami, Florida. Traditional baseball powers not in this tournament. What do you got here? Even WSU are diehard. There you go. Again, as I said, I think the Pac-12 and lack of fan support is overrated. Again, USC not filling up the 120,000 seat stadium when they stink, notwithstanding, I think the support in the Pac-12 has been pretty good through the years. Pittman and Napier, John DeLon, are both gone if they don't win 6 games. Agreed. Florida's playing a gauntlet, and a lot of those SEC teams are. I know that, but Florida's got a gauntlet of a schedule. There's no way Billy Napier is winning 6 games this year. And Arkansas will likely only win 4 games. Napier's going to struggle to win 5 games. They agree. Both teams' schedules are pretty brutal. There you go. And John says LSU baseball surged late. They did surge late. Wake Forest and LSU, I think, are 2 sleepers. Who else did I say I liked? South Carolina. Some Indiana State's a team that can come from the outside of the traditional thinking. I do like your LSU team. They started, if I remember, like, I don't know. I was reading something here. Where is that? LSU. Is it here? Damn, I don't know where I saw that now. I saw an article where, LSU had gotten off to like a, 7-11 start, something like that, and something awful, and they played very, very well. LSU baseball surged late a month ago. No one thought they would make the regional this year, and they almost won the SEC tournament. Lost by 1 run to Tennessee. That was a great game last weekend. I watched nearly every pitch of that game. What was that, on Sunday or Monday? I was outside. We hung out outside all day. I had the TV out watching college baseball and some hockey. Everyone in the SEC West plays a brutal schedule. Yeah, listen, the SEC, one thing I will not say is that these teams are not playing really high caliber football. They were playing high caliber football to begin with, John. And again, I think you know pretty well that, and we're about out of time. Actually, we are out of time, but we'll take it a couple minutes past, but not too far. I'm not an SEC hater. It's really good football. It's probably the best football conference in the country. I get that. Pac-12 or the Big 12 might give it a run for its money, but I think this year specifically, I think the SEC will be better. I just think there's a lot of good football being played around the country that you need to kind of give them some credit. And that's what I hate. That's what I hate about what we have now. All this focus that will be on the SEC and the Big Ten, because as I said, I'm a Miami fan, but I am a story guy. I like good stories. And a lot of those good stories are going to get lost in this whole super conference nut job here. And it's prediction time. Sorry to everyone that was hoping to get a break from Bama fatigue, but Bama is likely going to make the playoff this season. I don't doubt that. I think Kellen DeBoer is a very good coach, John. Again, I think the SEC is probably going to get they're going to get their winner in. We know that. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that's Georgia. I can see Texas, I can see Alabama, and I can see Ole Miss getting into this playoff. So 4 teams out of 12 at a minimum, maybe, for the SEC. And that's without them trying to bully their way into more selections. Okay, so listen, the SEC is really good. I don't doubt that Bama prediction because they're replacing the greatest coach of all time with a really good football coach. It's not easy to follow the GOAT. Kellen DeBoer has got his work cut out for him, but I do think he is a guy who might be built for that. ACC just as deep as the SEC and college baseball. I agree with that. Maybe deeper. Maybe even deeper. They're 2 good leagues. I mean, for sure. They're the best 2 leagues in the country as far as baseball goes, for sure. Yeah, and the ACC gives them a run for their money. Bully. Did I say bully? What did I say? They did bully. Come on, John. Again, I don't want to get into this because remember, it was only 2 months ago that the SEC was lobbying to change the rules of the tournament so that they were going to be guaranteed X amount of spots, not just 1. Now, we all know they're going to get 3 or 4 anyway, but they try to bully their way into getting it. Why not just earn it legitimately? You're the guy who doesn't want participation trophies given out. Earn your way into the tournament. So you're going to tell me that they didn't go to the NCAA, or I'm sorry, not the NCAA, but the college football playoff people and say, we might go do our own thing if you don't give us our way. Come on, John. They did. And they told them, see you later. Now, maybe that changes at some point because college football playoff might need the SEC more than the other way around. But for now, that hasn't happened. So, again, fair is fair. Earn your way in. Earn your way in. You've already lost 1 automatic bid with the Pac-12 being gone. Right? So we're down from 6 to 5. Is it 5? Or is it? Yeah. No. Well, the highest group of 5 team gets one. The SEC, the ACC, the Big 12. What am I missing? Oh, Big 10, 4 or 5. You're already down to 5 because the Pac-12 folded. Now you want to take away the group of 5's opportunity. You want to take away whatever. It's not, again. And I don't care about fair. I mean, earn your way in. You're the big guy about no participation trophy opportunities. Earn your way in. Okay with that. See how the NL affects Bama over time. Bama also full of front runner fans. Well, that's not a bad. Again, they haven't had a chance to be anything but front runners since Nick Saban got there. But there was a lot of years between Bear Bryant and Nick Saban where Bama wasn't all that good, and the fans kind of went away. I didn't hear a lot about Bama football. But again, that's a long time ago. It's almost 2 decades. So anyway, been a great night, guys. Good job. You guys have done a great job. Robert, thanks for joining us. John, as always, Rick, Stephen, Colleen, Michael over there in England. We love having you joining us now. Michael, I said Michael Gott. Sorry. John Gonzalez from the Sports Authorities. Thank you. Scott Kobe. Great participation. Everyone missed. Kenny, whoever I'm missing else. CA, of course. Anybody else I'm missing, I apologize. You guys are the heart of my shows. I love the debates that we have, and I want to continue them. So we'll try to get Larry Sorensen on to talk some college baseball and this new landscape in college football as well. And I'll see you guys next week. Probably. Yeah, we got through the baseball tournament. We'll be here anyway. And we'll talk some college baseball, college basketball, college football, and damn, I'm going to miss Bill Walton. He was an American original. You either liked him or you didn't like him. You rest in peace, Bill Walton. You did it your way. We'll get to that next time, John. See you later. Bye-bye.